All right, welcome back again to video reflection number 2 of my 30-day reflection challenge. Again, for those of you who didn't watch the first one, the challenge is to talk about something from your past, your present, and just reflect on decisions you've made, things that have happened for 30 days. If you can't do 30 days straight, which I'm probably not even going to be able to do because I might forget, is at least make up 2 videos in one day, do 3 videos in one day. And for the record, again, if you can't do videos like me and you don't have the strength, the courage, or you just don't want your business on social media, right? Just make posts. Or if not make posts, just make notes, make a journal, get a diary, whatever, and write these things down 30 times. I want 30 separate notes being made, right? For 30 days worth, basically. Now, today's little rant, little reflection is going to be about growing up without a father. What's it like growing up without knowing your father? This is tough. Let's get straight to it. Look, the first time that I thought about where's my father, why didn't I get to know my father? Why don't I see my father on a consistent basis? Where is he at? What's the reasons? The first time that stuff crossed my mind, as far as I can remember, like key moments, was in 4th grade. Now, if anybody who watched any of my other videos, I always mention that in elementary school, 3rd and 4th grade was like some of my worst behaved years. And those were the years that I first had to go to therapy and get anger management done and things like that. And teachers always used to ask me every time I got in trouble, or when I consistently got in trouble after a while, I had different teachers and counselors always ask, well, do you know your dad? Is your father in your life? Do you have any males in your life? And, as a kid, you don't really get the line of questioning. You just like, no, you just like, yes, maybe I see my dad or not, da. For me, I didn't know how to answer it because I didn't know how to talk about the fact that my dad wasn't around. Now, the thing with this is, it never crossed my mind. Like, I was so used to just being around women, being around my mom, my aunts, my grandmas, right? I said my grandmas, my grandmother as well, and my great-grandmothers, aunts, things like that, on my grandmother's level. My family's mostly women. And it's not that it's like not odd or something, but I just didn't think about it. Like as a kid, you don't really care about what's there and what's not. As long as you fed, as long as you having fun, as long as you get to sleep, as long as you get all the gifts you want and the toys you want and get to watch all the TV you want and eat. That's all you care about as a kid. You're not really thinking about parenting or nothing like that until you start to go out in the world and you start to see other things. Now, for me, every time they ask this question, it made me wonder, but then will also make me angry, like deep down, because I know I didn't have an answer. And then there was a time when I was asked and I brought it up to my mom. And my mom just took like a deep breath, like, I knew this day would come. I knew you would ask this question. And she told me the story about how he was there. He lived in our house with my grandmother's house, my grandfather's house. He stayed for a while. Don't know how long exactly. I'm not going to make up some numbers. And, some point after I was born or whatnot, he just up and left. I don't know. I haven't been told the full story, the full details at this time. Of course, when I do, I'll probably make a video about it. And I don't have a lot of answers as for why or when he left exactly. But all I know is it's annoying to not have a full story. It's always, when I do sit down and I think about these things, it's always annoying to not have an answer. But, from that point forward, it's like, yeah, it's been in my mind that I don't see my dad or I don't have a dad. Now, it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. Like, some problems that we have, some feelings that we have, emotions, thoughts, la-di-da, they're on the front of our mind, like daily. Like there's not a day that goes by without thinking about certain things in our lives. For me, this dad thing wasn't like urgent. It wasn't on my mind often. The only time it would be on my mind is if like I'm out in public and I see a dad playing with his son, his daughter. You know, I see a movie that's like plot based around the son and the father, things like that. Unless somebody brings it up in school or Father's Day or something. Those are the only times like I'll really sit and think about where's my father. You know, but other than that, I didn't really care because so many years, so much time go by without a dad being there. We all, some of us know how this. I'm not gonna say we all, but any of us who have a situation where we don't know our dad, don't talk to our dad consistently, or see our fathers consistently, we all know what it's like. And that's just basically like you reach a point where you don't even care anymore. You don't even want to think about it. You don't even think about it intentionally or unintentionally. Life just goes on, and you don't even care to have that interaction or to answer that question or engage in that conversation about Father's Day. Now, of course, there were times where in high school, mostly it's like, man, I wish I had um, a male, right? And I wish I knew somebody because even at a young age, it's not to start a gender conversation or debate, but even at a young age, you start to realize that you can't talk to women, females about certain things because they can't explain it in a way that needs to be explained to a young boy. And it's not that or just this never-ending debate of, oh, can a woman raise a boy and can a man raise a girl and all that. I'm not even getting there. We're not even talking about that. There's just things that can't be taught, can't be learned from opposite genders. Yes, if you have a mother or father who like knows all things and is engaged in different knowledge and different life experiences, yes, they can teach you a crap ton, but nobody can teach you how to get out there and execute what it means to be a man or a woman in your lifetime. They can tell you everything you need to know to make money, to be successful, to do da da da. But you as an individual woman or man, boy, girl, you have to walk that path. And what they said or what they suggest and the advice or the path they may have even laid out for you completely may not be so easy to walk, regardless of what you was told. Now, this crosses over into other video topics that I'm going to get into, such as loneliness and not being included in things and not having certain experiences and being left out of certain stuff because I didn't have a father. But one example that I constantly see come up as of high school and even now in my 20s is that, I'm not into, mention this in other videos, who cares? I'm not into NBA, I'm not into football, NFL, MLB, none of that. I do not care for none of that. Now, of course, the deeper part of that is I don't care for traditional sports because I never had any male around me to consistently put me on to traditional sports, right? I never had that. But the truth is, I did have that in my house. My brother, my aunt's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, excuse me, was all fanatic about sports. My grandfather, you go to school, you hear boys talk about sports. It was always around, neighbors talking about sports, but it was just never for me. So obviously over the years, I had to question myself and be like, this is just one thing. Do I really not like sports because it was never given to me? I never had that experience of throwing a football or a baseball, with my father or some man. Is it because of that is why I don't like sports? Is it really that? Or is it just because I don't like it? Today, I just don't like it. I could care less. It's not entertaining. I respect these sports because of the athleticism, because of what it takes, the grind, the heart, the commitment that it takes to play these sports. I have nothing but the highest respect for the sports, but it's just not entertaining to me. It just don't click. Like, I played basketball for a YMCA team. I was kind of forced to do it, but it was a good experience. It was cool, but basketball, not for me. Till this day, I will only play basketball for fun. I will only play basketball for a kid's sake, just for a memory, for a moment. But I don't passionately give two shits, excuse my language, about playing any of this or being a part of any of this, ever. And I never will, because it's not for me. I don't care to know stats. I don't care to know names. I don't care to watch games. I don't want to spend my hours sitting down watching stuff that has to do with these sports. Slight tangent, but the layers of me not liking such sports has slightly to do with there not being a male who consistently likes sports. Now, as I'm gearing towards my 20s, and I'll say exiting high school, right? It became hard to identify what I want to do with myself. You know, what do I want to be? Where do I want to go? And don't get me wrong, in high school, you know, I've had people I would consider mentors. I've had teachers. I've had counselors, you know, that stayed on top of me. There's like, yo, you know, you can do better. You more than this. Blah blah blah. You got, excuse me. You got a lot of potential. X Y Z. Those kind of things. And it's not their fault that it didn't pan through early or quickly as probably so needed. But I had stuff in the way that was blocking me. I had feelings, emotions, thoughts, personal problems, family problems that was blocking my vision for the future. But the thing is, and plus in school, these teachers, these counselors, these mentors, they have 100 other kids, several hundred other kids to be worried about and focus on. And that's just one problem with growing up. When you need stuff, you can't always get it. You don't always get it because it just don't work out that way. And I realized like graduating that I wanted and needed like more of a figure who relates to me, my struggle, my experience, who can identify and talk to me the way I need to be talked to, as far as manhood, being a boy, being a male, father, son, father, uncle, any kind of type relationship was there. Being there, excuse me. Right? Never had that. But I realized I wanted that and I needed that as time go on. Now, right, hitting the 20s. You know, in the 20s, right, you start to realize, you know, life comes in, responsibilities, handling critical situations. A lot of situations would have been so much easier to deal with if I just had somebody to tell me like, yo, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. This is what you should do as a man. This is just what you should do as a person. Like nobody laid these things out for me because one, and this is just facts, you could debate this if you want, but I will never argue against the fact that being around women growing up, you learn to be more emotional. You learn to be more passive. You take a sit back stance on things. But, you know, when you a man, and what the type of man that's needed out here is men that's going to make a decision right here, right now, and you're not going to sit on it but for so long before you make that decision. And even if it's a risky decision, one got to be made in a matter of time. But one thing I've realized that I picked up over time, being raised around women, especially because I was raised in a house where like we don't aggressively attack stuff. We just wait, we hold, we observe, we stay quiet. You know, we keep stuff behind the scenes. We don't really address things directly. And that's not to downplay anything, but that's just the way the women in my life, you know, handle their things most of the time, is to just fall back and not get involved so much. But what I learned is that in life, and obviously for the best moments in my life, you got to attack it. You got to go straight for it. You got to go through it. There's no way around it. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter if it hurts. Doesn't matter if you're scared. You got to attack it. You got to attack it. But that is such a small percentage of my life that I learned how to attack stuff and go after it and be consistent and be strong, and doesn't matter how I feel, because most of my life, especially growing up from a kid all the way up until, you know, halfway through high school, then I start clicking like, yo, I can't be in my bag all the time. I can't be in my feelings all the time. I can't let my feelings override me and how I feel and how I think and stop me from doing stuff. Because every time I look back on so many situations, I just think back like, man, if I was just in my straight frame, in my, as they would say, masculine frame in today's time, right? You know, if I was in that more, would probably handle certain situations differently. Now, to wrap this up, closing statements is that now, you know, me and my girlfriend talk about this, and I talk about this with the boys, like, you know, do we ever really want to talk to our fathers? Do we ever want to get to know our fathers? Do we wish we really had X, Y, Z things with our fathers? Me personally, you know, I acknowledge the fact that, you know, it's always going to be there. We can't front. I keep it real on my videos. I don't know what y'all be watching, but we're not going to front. People can sit here and say they don't care and they don't want to they don't want to have these conversations. I could care less about me and so and being myself. It's a lie, because I felt like that for a long time. But you realize that that's just made out of anger and hurt and things like that. That you like, no, I don't ever want to see it. I don't ever want to meet my mom. I don't ever want to meet my dad. I don't never want to be around my stepdad, stepmom. You know, all that just going on and on. You don't never want to do this. Never want to do that. That never applies to right now. But a couple years from now, right, it might kick in. And for me, I remember one time me and my mom had a good conversation when I was a senior, about to graduate. And she was like, you know, do you ever think about, you still ever think about you want to see your dad, meet your dad? And to me, at this point, I graduated high school. You know, I start showing up, you know, on time, get my grades, knocking everything out, being good at wrestling, you know, just being different. At that point, I was just like, man, no. Because let me tell you why. Because everything worked out in the end. I'm not pressed to meet him. I would like to meet him. I don't want. But for closure's sake and healing's sake, yeah, of course, why not? That's what you should do, everyone. If you know you've been missing something all your life, all this time, you know, you need to get that closure at some point if you can, or if you want. But some people might not want closure, so, and that's fine. If you absolutely guaranteed decided that you don't want closure on certain stuff, then that's fine. But for me, and I suggest, right, if life's going well, if things are going fine, if you've made amends with certain things and you just accepted certain things, and the decision is that you don't care anymore, it's not like a urgent thing, that's fine. And that's okay. And don't let no one force you into talking to, oh, you got to talk to them because that's your dad, because that's your mom, because that's your aunt, because that's your uncle, because so-and-so and so-and-so reasons. After their reasons, you got to make that choice to want to pursue that and go for that. And keep it up to date. Me personally, yeah, like it's there. Some days I have my days where I'm like, you know what? I want to have that conversation. I want to ask more questions. I want to know. But at the same time, I just be like, man, do I really feel like dealing with all that? I don't know. But I can say, I know I said I was going to wrap this up, but a couple more minutes. All I want to say is that growing up without a father, you know, as a young adult, you can see where it comes in handy. If you conscious and you alert and you honest with yourself, you can see where it would come in handy, where it would have been useful to know it, to have a consistent male and specifically a father there. You know, just keeping it real. You see where you need it, and you can't lie, because I see it on other people. The difference is I know what's right and wrong. I know what discipline is. I had to teach myself. I had to get it from other places. Not that my mom, my aunt, and everybody in my family didn't try to discipline me. They did. But it's hard to do that to somebody when you know the type of discipline you need ain't there, isn't there, right? And I taught myself discipline as far as I could. Keep myself out of trouble. Focus on what needs to be focused on, what's important. Prioritize this and that. I teach myself how to do that stuff. I had to. And only because I taught myself how to do that, I stayed out of a lot of drama that a lot of people my age and a lot of grown men till this day keep getting into, because y'all don't have no standards. Y'all don't have no morals. Y'all never had, or even if y'all had guidance, y'all just tossed it out the window. That isn't me. So regardless of the fact of if my father is around or not, if I knew my father or not, the point is you got to wrap yourself up, get it together, find a purpose, find a reason, find motivation, and it's not going to matter what you did or didn't have. It's about what you do today and how you plan on moving forward as the future goes on. So I was hoping to wrap this up in 15 minutes, but this is 20 minutes of your time. And if you made it this far, thanks again. This is my second reflection video. Hope you join me. And if you can relate to the fatherless topic or what it's like growing up without a father, drop a comment. Be honest, or take my reflection and make a reflection of your own. Simple as that. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, share, all that.